President Trump comes into office. First thing he does in 2017, massive tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. The GOP tax scam. 83% of the benefits going to the wealthiest 1% in America explodes the deficits. How dare you lecture America about fiscal responsibility?
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries is calling out the GOP's dangerous game of debt limit chicken. And Jeffries is right. Republicans should be a little more humble about that whole national debt thing. After all, their policies are almost exclusively responsible for sending America's debt skyrocketing.
Democrats are the party of job creation and reducing deficits, and Republicans are the party of tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, and exploding the deficit. So we're not going to stand here and allow you to lecture us about fiscal responsibility. What this is an effort to try to extract deep, painful cuts on everyday Americans.
Now that's something you don't see every day. Democrats actually fighting back against Republican efforts to punish vulnerable Americans. And let's be clear, when Democrats say Republicans are demanding sweeping government-wide cuts, they aren't exaggerating. Republicans want to claw back billions of dollars in COVID emergency funds President Joe Biden delivered to the states, even though COVID is still going on. And many states, including red ones, say their quality of care will suffer if Kevin McCarthy gets his way. That's going to hurt a lot of Republican voters just in time for 2024. McCarthy also has it out for our vets, too. His proposal would cut spending at the VA by over 20%. That would mean over 81,000 layoffs and 30 million fewer patient visits for veterans in need. That's too much for even some of McCarthy's fellow Republicans.
I just ran from the House chamber where, yet again, we saw the drama in the early parts of this session. Kevin McCarthy did manage to squeak through this bill by the narrowest of margins, just 2 votes, 217 votes. That means had just one other Republican gone from yes to no, this bill would have failed. 4 Republicans voted against the Speaker's bill, could not afford any more.
What little political capital McCarthy had left after his bruising fight to become Speaker, he just spent it. And that last bit of influence went to pushing forward a debt limit bill that has absolutely zero chance of reaching Joe Biden's desk. Is Kevin McCarthy just really bad at strategy? Let me know in the comments. Without Tucker Carlson to tell them what to say to their base, most Republicans decided to run away from the media cameras after their vote. Apparently, they aren't too hot on taking questions about a bill that would kick at-risk veterans onto the streets. Imagine that. But there is one major Republican who disagrees with McCarthy's strategy. Someone who absolutely, definitely was not thinking ahead when he said this in 2019.
I can't imagine anybody ever even thinking of using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge. When I first came into office, I asked about the debt ceiling, and I understand debt ceilings. And I said, I remember to Senator Schumer and to Nancy Pelosi, would anybody ever use that to negotiate with? They said, absolutely not. That's a sacred element of our country. They can't use the debt ceiling to negotiate.
You heard it here, folks. Donald Trump would never use the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge. So, by the laws of MAGA land, anyone who does is an anti-Trump rhino shill who should be driven out of the party. Listen, I don't make the rules. I just listen to all that Trumpian wisdom. So in one of the most strategically brilliant moves of all time, Kevin McCarthy has now saddled Republicans with a debt ceiling bill that's both wildly unpopular and incredibly personally costly for him. And when I say unpopular, I mean it. A new poll shows that 7 in 10 Americans support raising the debt ceiling. Those people care about government way more than Republicans do. But there's something deeper here. McCarthy's play showcases a fundamental misunderstanding of Joe Biden, not as a president, but as a person. In 2011, when President Obama and Vice President Biden negotiated with Republicans on a different debt deal, that went terribly wrong, and Biden never forgot it. Republicans kept stringing the White House along and nearly destroyed the American economy in the process. That nightmare left a deep mark on both Obama and Biden. Now Biden is clear. He won't be repeating that mistake, and Republicans can get serious or they can get out.
The two parties see that moment in 2011 very differently. Republicans look back and see a glorious showdown where they stared down a Democratic president and forced $2 trillion in spending cuts. Democrats look at it as a disaster to be avoided at all costs, something that nearly torched the U.S. economy.
If Kevin McCarthy wanted to pick a fight with Joe Biden, well, he chose a really sore subject. And Joe Biden has been waiting years to teach Republicans a lesson after their treachery in 2011. But there's one big difference. Back then, Republicans were united. Today, Kevin McCarthy barely has enough votes to pass his own plan. It's clear most Republicans are more than happy to let Kevin McCarthy fight Joe Biden alone. That should tell you a lot about how confident they are in their own debt plan. Kevin McCarthy has once again guided his party into a thorny political mess. Chalk up another victory for America's greatest speaker. Well, that was a journey, and if you want even more, check out this video. And remember to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below, so you can let me know what I should cover next.